If I ever got a time machine, I'd go back and do two things. The first is deliver my past self a list of market fluctuations, so I could get in on the NFT grift and dip just before the rug pulls. The second would be to tell him not to waste his time on Star Wars in the coming years. I honestly think my past self would have more trouble believing future me didn't care about Star Wars rather than that people were going to be dumb enough to spend six figures to own a JPEG. Maybe not by much, but still. Star Wars mostly sucks now. And it doesn't suck because of diversity or wokeness or DEI or whatever dog whistle the culture vultures are using when you watch this video to mean women and non-white people. Nah, Star Wars sucks now because Disney owns it. As a multi-billion-dollar corporation whose sole objective is to make money, they've turned Star Wars into the tubby custard machine and put it up behind the bar next to the Marvel slop dispenser. Don't get me wrong, Star Wars has pretty much always been a money-making machine, even when I was growing up with it, but the mask has come fully off. The franchise no longer exists as an homage to pulp sci-fi and Akira Kurosawa films, or a flawed attempt to reflect the anxieties and political climate of the early 2000s. Star Wars now exists to beget Star Wars, a constant stream of self-perpetuating spin-offs, afraid to do anything interesting or different, because a bunch of unwashed nerds got apoplectic the one time they did something interesting and different. And then Disney tried to mollify them by making the worst movie I've ever seen.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
While I no longer care about what Disney's puppeteering Star Wars into, I'm not going to be one of those dramatics who lets their ownership of it on paper corrode my affection towards the other parts of it that I do like, which brings us to today's subject. Rogue Squadron was released at the tail end of 1998, a sort of sequel to another Star Wars game, Shadows of the Empire, which opens with a level set during the Battle of Hoth where you control a snowspeeder. Developers LucasArts and Factor 5 extrapolated that single level out into a whole campaign with more fighters to pilot and more planets to liberate. Rogue Squadron belongs to a mostly dead genre, the arcade flight sim, focusing more on snappy movement and combat rather than grounded physics-heavy realism. Nowadays, save for an indie throwback or two, the last torchbearer of the genre is the Ace Combat franchise, which is a shame because Rogue Squadron slaps. One of the main reasons it does is the music. It's not the exact same John Williams score from the film, save for a few inserts here and there. The bulk of it is reinterpretations of Williams' score by a German guy named Chris Huelsbeck who has credits on a bunch of Commodore 64 games. Even still, me leaving the music playing might be playing chicken with the copyright bots, so if there's gaps in the audio, the mouse got me. This playthrough is actually going to be new to me past a certain point because I don't think I ever got past the 7th level as a kid. Look, I played this when I was like 6, the thought that I might have to do more than just shoot the TIE fighters didn't occur to me. Before we get to the blasting though, we have to actually get into the game, which is a time and a half. See, I originally intended to play the version I have in my Steam library, the PC release called Rogue Squadron 3D. I knew this version was going to have some issues. The max resolution you can set the game to natively is 1280 by 720. It was already going to look a bit weird on my new 4K monitor. So I set my Nvidia card to force some filtering and anti-aliasing and fired it up. Oh no. Why am I down here? Where is my radar? Oh lord, I am untethered from the camera. Luke, I think we're going to need more than the Force to fix this! So yeah, this game isn't future-proofed in the slightest. The list of fixes on the Steam forums and the PC Gaming Wiki are a mile long, ranging from fan patches to forcing things with DG Voodoo, and I spent a while trying them all. I think part of the reason it's hard to get this thing to play nice is because it actually runs off 2 executables for some reason. Clicking play on Steam opens a launcher, which opens another launcher, which then actually starts the game. I spent a solid 2 hours tinkering and trying to get it to work, which is roughly equivalent to 2/3 of a casual playthrough of the campaign. So, I threw in the towel and went with Plan B. Loading this into an emulator works right out the gate. Hell, Project 64 these days can sharpen up the textures and resolution to a general approximation of what the PC version would look like anyway. Can't quite fix the fact that the little people on screen look like cardboard standees, though. First off, I love this little boot screen on the N64 version. On original hardware, this game strained the console to render it at a resolution of 360 by 240, but if you had the expansion pack, you could get it to an eyeball-searing 640 by 480! The presentation is really solid here. The top menus on the console version are fairly plain, just text over stills, but the martial music and smooth transitions punch it up. Getting into the level selection, we're greeted with this wonderful recreation of the Mon-Cal cruiser from Return of the Jedi, with little animations of the hologram collapsing and expanding as you flip from mission to mission. If you want to have any idea of what's going on, listen to the mission descriptions. They're about the only real context you'll get for where you are and what you're doing. After picking a mission, we're taken to another lovingly crafted screen where we pick a ship. The hangar is modeled in full 3D and lets you get a good look at the different fighters. Flipping through the roster causes the camera to whip around the space, and if you're eagle-eyed, you might spot a few of the secret goodies in the pans. For the initial run-through of all the missions, I'm limited to one fighter, and of course they're going to start off with the most iconic one. No, mute it! The first few missions are bite-sized. This opening level on Tatooine can be cleared in just a few minutes.
Good morning, Wedge. The rest of Rogue Squadron is still back at base, but I thought we could take an early morning run through Beggar's Canyon.
Rogue Squadron's flying has a few quirks to it. There's a ceiling to most of the levels. Trying to fly above a certain point will cause the game to pull the fighter's nose down. It's lower than I remembered. The devs went for length rather than depth when designing the game's environments. The game also wants me to stay properly oriented. You'll snap back to a level plane after hard turns and banks. The X-Wing is the jack-of-all-trades ship and is ideal for getting a handle on all this. It's reasonably fast and maneuverable with the ability to take a few hits. There's secondary torpedoes that are good for stationary targets, and its speed can be juiced by folding the wings, though doing that disables the lasers until they're open again.
Mos Eisley is under attack. We need to assist. We did it! We saved Mos Eisley! Nice work, Rogue Squadron. We might make a name for ourselves after all.
The second mission introduces you to the target of both my affection and ire, the orange radar cone. Nominally, this thing is supposed to steer you towards the game's objectives, and it does that well enough on the levels that have objectives that go in sequence. On other levels that are more open-ended, it loses focus, like me during high school calculus. Look, Mr. Robinson, I'm so sorry, I really tried. You lost me when you started putting in the imaginary numbers. Why do I need to solve for them if they're imaginary? In this level, the radar cone will constantly point towards what is indeed the objective, the supply convoy I'm supposed to be escorting. But I don't want to pay attention to the convoy exclusively. I want to be proactive about intercepting the bombers and walkers waiting in the canyons ahead. But the game only wants to highlight where the convoy is rather than where the attacks are coming from, and during a flyby after a sortie away, I realized a transport got blown up. Whoops. Also, due to the mission ending when the convoy gets to a certain point, the attitude of the guy on the radio pivoted on a dime in the space of a few seconds.
Commander, this is Rieekan. It's imperative you stay with the supply vehicle. The shuttle is clear.
Mission 3 is the search for the Nona, though to be honest it isn't all that much of a search. I'm strapped into an A-Wing for the first time, and figure out real quick that this thing has 2 speeds.
Fast and way too fast!
I'm not a fan of this thing. It feels slippery to control, like it's about to speed away from the camera itself, and it's very glass cannon-y. Next mission is Corellia and another new ship to pilot, the Snowspeeder, which has always been one of my favorites. This mission is running interference in the skies while the main plot, an Imperial officer defecting to the Rebellion, happens in the background. Which, now that I think about it, is what happens in the majority of these missions, me doing grunt work in the skies while an entirely separate military epic takes place in the background. Getting to hogtie an AT-AT like in the movies lessens the disappointment somewhat.
Activate harpoon. Out. Let her go.
I fail the next mission in about 30 seconds because I see a red dot on my radar and light it up, only for it to be one of the targets that I'm supposed to let the Y-Wings destroy. Why does it really matter what ship destroys it? It all blows up the same. This level is turret hell. I think I took more deaths to the turbo lasers than any airborne opponent. The turrets actually have a bit of strategy to them. These boxy boys with the green lasers can only aim so low, so if you fly under their firing arc, you can destroy them no problem. Otherwise, you have to weave on approach or get them while they're targeting one of your allies. The homing missiles fired by these guys can be blown up mid-flight, but it's tricky due to their size.
shooting Y-wings, do you? Here's a little message from Gold Squadron.
This is Lieutenant Jason Moore of the Imperial 128th to unidentified Y-Wing. Are you quite done? My vehicle has been disabled for a good 2 minutes now.
An Imperial ace named Kason Moore defects to the rebels at the end of this mission. She's a little miffed that the Empire, blew up her home planet. Cool thing, Moore is voiced by Olivia Hussey, who played main character Jess in the proto-slasher film classic Black Christmas, and was also in, Ice Cream Man. The other voice you'll hear most is Luke's, voiced here by Bob Bergen, who's one of those actors that always voice a particular live-action character in non-live-action things.
Cut the chatter. Wedge, hold him off as best you can. Rogues, we're gonna have company real soon.
Leia, hear me.
I got you.
Leia, I think I'm about to be mugged.
About to be what? Man, you. Enjoy the view, Weather Vane.
Moore's knowledge of Imperial hidey holes provides the leads for the next couple of missions, a raid on a supply depot and a hit-and-run attack on some construction yards. The construction yard mission is always where I got stonewalled when I was younger. The initial approach through the canyons requires destroying these listening devices, and getting too close alerts the Imperials and automatically fails the mission, which is what always happened to me. For some reason, it never occurred to me then to just fire at them from a distance. That's all you have to do. Also in this mission, I realized that the game's live system is a bit weird. Rogue Squadron's literature tells you that you get 3 tries on a given mission before a game over. If you get blown out of the sky, or as happens more often in my case, misjudge where the unforgiving terrain is, you respawn after a short delay near where you went down. So you'd naturally assume that each mission you can be shot down twice before a third time boots you back to the level select. This isn't how it works. How it actually works is that you have 3 quote-unquote lives on your save file at any given point that refresh every time you start a particular mission. You can lose these lives by getting shot down, being dumb and crashing, or by failing the mission objectives. I pieced all this together during the construction yard raid because I goofed an attempt and got detected, which is an automatic fail. On the next attempt, I got through the initial canyon section, ate anti-aircraft fire and went down, respawned, then crashed, which got me a game over. The kicker to all this is that the only penalty for a game over is getting booted back to the main menu and having to select your save file and mission again. That's the extent of the consequences, wasting your time. After laying waste to the construction yards, the rogues journey to another planet to cripple some naval bases and continue with the asset denial. I get to fly a Y-Wing for the first time, and I can't deny that I kinda adore this chunky flying hoss of a fighter. It's slow as can be and lumbers around turns, but eats anti-aircraft fire for breakfast. Its lasers have the lowest rate of fire of any of the fighters, but they're pinpoint accurate and pretty strong. The main reason I'm flying one here is because of the bombs, which have their own special targeting reticle and blow up real good. So good, in fact, that you can blow yourself up if you're too close to the blast radius. My intrusive thoughts demand that I allocate 1 bomb of my limited supply to erasing this entire company of stormtroopers in one go. Why did the developers make them scream like that? Our buddy Wedge gets captured at the end of this mission, so we have to go spring him before he disappears into the bowels of the Imperial prison Torment Nexus. The X-Wing has its torpedoes swapped out for an ion cannon solely for this mission, which we use to disable a prison transport train in 72 seconds, not bad. Next is Kessel of the Run in 12 Parsecs fame, which I refuse to learn the specific lore about. I know this may seem ridiculous to Star Wars diehards, but every line of simple world building does not need a movie, half a dozen books, and a goddamn theme park tie-in comic to over-explain and ruin the mystery, and furthermore... What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. The Kessel mission is just escorting commandos from point to point, not much to say. Battle above Talaran gives a breather from having to deal with ground targets as it takes place above a gas giant, and I'm thankful for it. I like Rogue Squadron's gameplay the most when I'm dogfighting. I'm strapped back into an A-Wing for more asset denial, this time specifically targeting gas mining silos marked with the Imperial emblem. This one's a good time, fast-paced with an interesting environment.
This reminds me of Bespin. My squadron scouted it once for a possible Imperial takeover. Too small, though.
God, even back in 1998 they were already doing...
Remember Bespin? Remember Reg? I loved Reg.
Escape from Fest is where the game stops pulling punches with its difficulty, which is fitting because in the story the rogues have garnered the attention of one Moff Ceitinn, the closest thing to an antagonist this game has. Several rebel overachievers stole 3 AT-PT walkers and the rogues are sent to make sure they make it off planet. It's simple in principle, escort the 3 walkers across the battlefield to an extraction point. What makes it tricky is the absolute overkill level of opposition the Empire sends to make sure they don't get there. It's actually kinda hilarious. These are 3 little scout walkers, the kind have been blasting through the whole campaign no problem. Why in the world does the Empire send 3 hulking AT-ATs, a battalion of laser tanks, and an entire bomber squadron to try to stop the rebels from stealing them? I mean, in context I wouldn't be complaining. By all means, Mr. Smart Guy Moff, waste all these troops, munitions, and assets. But this is the heftiest opposition I face as a player up until this point. You have to be quick and lethal to succeed here. The AT-PTs get ethered quickly if the AT-ATs get them zeroed in. And even when prioritizing the large walkers, there's so many laser tanks to contend with. The bomber squadrons in the final stretch are where you can unclench a little, the TIEs fly in predictable lines and are easy targets, but even then, only 1 walker went the distance. It's real cathartic to blow up the base at the end of this one. The home stretch has us going tit for tat with the Moff. The Chandrilla train escort mission is piss easy, which seems like the game trying to mollify me because of how hard Fest was. It feels like a mission that was supposed to be way earlier in the campaign. The difficulty then whiplashes back incredibly hard with Raid on Sullust. I retract my earlier comments about Mission 5. This is turret hell.
Okay, that's one. You know what to look for.
Hear all those constant bleep bloops? Those are dozens of smart missile turrets drawing a bead on me. If we're judging solely by the amount of times I got shot down, this is the hardest mission in the game, hands down. However, it turns out all the activity on Sullust is a diversion, as while we were busy skirting Sam's, Ceitinn launched a direct raid on the rebel base on planet Thyfera, targeting Bacta supplies, that carbonated healing juice they dug Luke into in Empire Strikes Back. I think the game turns up the aggro and the accuracy on the interceptors for this penultimate mission. They're really hard to shake and will Swiss cheese your fighter in short order if you don't duck and weave. I'd also really like to know why the laser defenses on a planet the rebels nominally control the ground of are shooting at me. Come on, guys! Moff Ceitinn himself shows up in a big clunky shuttle to try to take us out personally, which...
Commander Skywalker, so you're the young man who destroyed the Death Star.
Moff Ceitinn.
Do you wish to surrender now, or can I destroy you?
Yeah, okay, buddy. Literally, what did you think was going to happen? The final mission is a weird one. We're catapulted years into the future, half a decade past the Battle of Endor and the end of Return of the Jedi, into an engagement ripped from one of the old expanded universe stories that Disney proudly declared that they were going to huck in the bin and not use, before subsequently going dumpster diving for the choice stuff in them to jingle like a set of keys in front of fanboys. Though I'm not going to pretend all the old expanded universe stuff was good. Like, this final battle on Mon Calamari comes from a story with a Palpatine clone, so even when Chris Terrio is being a fucking hack, he's not even being an original fucking hack! The silver lining here is the V-Wing. If the X-Wing is a Mustang, the V-Wing is an F-16. This thing rules. It has only a smidge more health than the A-Wing, and it's possible to overheat the blasters. In exchange for those 2 minor downsides, you get the following. 1. A default speed that's faster than most other fighters in the game, save for the A-Wing. Number 2. An alternate firing mode for the cannons that looks like this. Number 3. A scramjet booster that sends you straight to Plaid.
Hit your booster.
Number 4. Homing cluster missiles. Ooh. These things feel like cheating. You just point your nose in the general direction of a bunch of enemies and fire. They do all the hard work. This mission's objective is to bring down these giant planet-munching toasters called World Devastators, which are as easy as popping the shield generator on top and then blasting off the legs. Once all 3 are down and the ties are cleared out, the game's over. A little anticlimactic, but all in all, not a bad way to kill a few hours. Factor 5 would go on to produce... what the... Who the hell are you?
Well, I'm your inner completionist.
Wait.
And you're not done.
No. This isn't... No. You can't be here.
Oh, buddy. I'm always here.
Oh, believe me, I'm well aware of that. I mean, you shouldn't be here, like physically manifested. I made sure of that.
What do you mean?
Look, I've been around since Channel Awesome was relevant. I know how this goes. You start uploading videos to the internet and everything's hunky-dory for a while, then all of a sudden, quirky characters start crawling out of the woodwork. The ritual I did was supposed to put a stop to that. I did not do all that crap just for you to show up.
Well, I'm here, so...
That guy on Etsy had great reviews. How the hell could this... Disclaimer, in order to process the uptick in volume of our requests, while we at Rituals by Request will carefully review the specifics of each right before sending it, common verbiage and basic steps will be automatically handled by our specially trained large language model. Oh, son of a... So Rogue Squadron doesn't have difficulty settings. It is what it is, and frankly, is fairly easy on a casual playthrough, even if you keep failing missions because you forget where the walls are. You may have noticed when I've shown the post-mission results screens this little list of metrics and that sometimes there's a colored emblem behind it. Every stage has a bronze, silver, and gold medal to earn based on tighter and tighter goalposts of these metrics, and if you want to see everything the game has to offer, you have to get golds on every mission. This generally boils down to completing the mission objectives as fast as possible while maximizing the amount of enemies you destroy. Obviously, that solves the completion time and enemies destroyed metrics, but will also usually cover the friendly saves metric as well, because enemies often spawn in chasing some of your allies, so just downing them as fast as possible ticks that one up. Bonus collected refers to the hidden weapon upgrades hidden in some of the stages. Picking them up one time causes their bonus to be applied to your fighters permanently, like improved blasters and homing missiles. In gold medal runs, you have to pick up the bonus in a mission to get the medal, even if you already grabbed it, so just memorize where they are. The real pain in the ass is the accuracy requirement. Judging from the verbiage in the Nintendo Power Guide I downloaded off the Internet Archive, I think it measures each individual blaster shot, though I'm not entirely sure that's true, since on a couple medal runs I got 100% accuracy, and I know that's not right. Obviously, firing randomly while navigating the maps is going to tank your metrics, so don't do that. Many missions don't have that high of a requirement, usually somewhere between 20 and 30%, which is comfortable. The trouble starts on missions like Assault on Kyle 2 or Battle above Talaran, which have a whopping 60% and 70% requirement respectively. The main targets of these missions are stationary structures, and hitting them is easy and included in your kill tally. But remember, there's a threshold of kills that you need to have for the gold medal, and the number of structures in the mission doesn't account for that whole number, so you have to dogfight a little or engage ground troops, both of which carry the risk of you missing too much and tanking the percentage. And remember, there's also a time limit, so you can't dilly-dally waiting for the perfect angle to light up every interceptor or spend precious extra seconds circling around every ATST to shoot them in the back. You need golds to get everything, so there's no point in trying to get anything less, which means the process can be simplified a little by compiling a list of gold medal times and using a timer. If it goes off, reset and try again. At this point, we have access to the full main fighter roster and can take any of the listed ships into a mission. Spoilers, it's going to be the V-Wing most of the time, the cluster missiles are too goddamn good. And because I know everyone will ask, the following section will detail how difficult I found getting the gold medals organized into tiers based on the amount of times I had to retry the stages. Roll it! I got gold on my first playthrough of Corellia and didn't need to replay it at all. Looking at the requirements, this seems to be one of the easiest ones. The time limit is 10 whole minutes, which is generous but fair given the zigzagging objectives, and it's an early game mission so the accuracy requirement is low. The friendly saves number looks scary, but it's deceptive. All you have to do is shoot down the TIE bombers before they blow up any of the buildings. And if any of you were still doubting the power of the V-Wing, I got a gold medal in the final campaign mission on Mon Calamari on my first go. 2 down, 14 to go. Next. These missions just required a small amount of thinking. In several cases, getting the gold requires ignoring the radar cone pointing to the objective and clearing sections of the map out of order. Nothing too complicated, not too much to say. Alright, now we're into the nitty-gritty. For such an early mission, Barkesh took me a few attempts because absolutely none of the convoy transports can be destroyed. The same goes for Moff Círdan's Revenge, but it makes more sense there due to it being late game. Gerard 5, the construction yards, and Sullust each needed a few restarts due to me missing the accuracy requirement a few times, which were annoying, but not too bad. The two real pains in the ass were Rescue on Kessel, where you have to destroy every enemy on the map, and Talaran, which has an annoyingly high accuracy requirement that I eventually cleared by tap-firing the lasers, along with the blockade runner you have to protect. The only reason these two were bearable were the short time limits. I didn't lose much time when I goofed up and had to restart. Now these two? Oh, these were tailor-made to push my buttons. Prisons of Kessel is a long escort mission, each attempt lasting around 10 minutes at a minimum, which made my many failures sting all the more. It also has the highest kill count requirement, 103, which necessitates downing most of the TIEs, all the walkers and probe droids hidden around the map, and a bunch of the troopers on the ground. Here's the catch though. In order for enough stormtroopers to even spawn to meet the requirement, you have to wait at each defense point until Rieekan says,
"Thanks, road group, I'm clear."
If you blow up these barracks buildings before he says that, the stormtroopers don't spawn and you're locked out of having enough targets. It took me way longer than I'd like to admit to realize this, but also don't forget that accuracy requirement or else... And fitting for the hardest mission normally, the Escape from Thest gold medal feels like having to balance a spinning plate on a stick while Darth Vader Rogue Ones his way down the hall after you. The time requirement solves itself because this is an escort mission, but none of the fragile-ass AT-PTs can be destroyed, or that's a reset. That means not screwing up any of the AT-AT takedowns,
Activate Harpoon.
destroying the laser tanks pronto, and intercepting the bombers as soon as they show up. My finger never left the boost button. This took so many attempts that I set a save state at the mission start because I needed to reset that much. I never want to do this again. Why the hell did you make me do this?
For the sense of pride and accomplishment.
God damn it, I knew you were going to say that. Of course you're a stooge and annoying.
Well, it wasn't me that goofed that ritual.
Yeah, don't remind me. Week of smelling like burning plastic covered in turmeric, all for nothing.
But you did it!
Yeah, I did. And what did I get for going to all the trouble? 3 bonus levels that feel like they were half finished, tossed in at the very end, each with their own medals to earn to boot. Beggar's Canyon is at least a change of pace. It's just a race with the goofy Skyhopper shuttle. But all you have to do to win is just hammer down the accelerator and not thump the walls. The Battle of Hoth is a condensed version of the Shadows of the Empire level, but without the extensive Echo-based ground combat to follow the vehicle segment. Waste of time. And the Death Star Trench Run? Oh. Look, I know it's one of the most iconic moments in the franchise. Hell, maybe even all of cinema. But I hate this mission. For one thing, it's redundant. The GameCube sequel Rogue Leader opens with the entire Death Star battle, including the trench run. For another, this is bar none the hardest gold medal in the game. It makes Fest look tame by comparison. The trench is cramped and narrow, filled with homing missiles, lasers, and allies to potentially bang into. There's a 20-second cutscene near the end of the trench that the mission timer does not stop for, and you cannot skip. Medaling this one is a matter of praying that you destroy enough turrets and ties with enough accuracy in the first section of the trench, then booking it with the S-foils closed to beat the timer. Ginormous pain in the ass. But I did it and got all 19 gold medals. What do you get for all that? Well, you can now fly any ship in any level, with the exception of the snowspeeder levels because you need the tow cable for the walkers. Your fighter roster now includes the Millennium Falcon, which is a nice bonus after skimming past it in the hangar a bunch of times, as well as a TIE Interceptor, which is also neat. A cheat code will let you fly the Naboo Starfighter, which was an Easter egg because Phantom Menace was in production when this game came out, but nothing compares to the ultimate hidden ship, the 1967 Buick Electra.
Rapid fire mode engaged.
However, all the amusement of this particular hidden content is lost on me now. Getting everything doesn't even feel worth it, because I've already replayed most of these levels multiple times grinding out the medals. There's zero impetus for me to replay them anymore, even with the bonus ships. I tripled my playtime getting all the medals, turning a nice smooth 3-hour nostalgia trip into a 9-hour frustration march. Frankly, I don't know if I'll ever play this again. So I hope you're happy, you cherubic dickhead.
Oh yeah, now we're gonna get all the medals in the sequel.
I mean, I'll probably play Rogue Leader eventually, but I've got other stuff I want to play in the meantime.
Oh yeah, we can get all the secrets in Turok and get that achievement that really annoys you to not have.
Oh, yeah, of course. Spoil what I've got planned. Wait, can you hear what I'm thinking?
Yep.
Well,
that's just juvenile. And that's illegal. Wait, you actually did that?
I mean, the ritual called for it.
So, you...
Yup.
With your bare hands?
Had to.
Huh. How did it, feel?
Sticky.